everybody. Scott Golden here with the Impact Sacrifice review for 2022. Tom Hannafin and Matt Reinwald on commentary. Lady Frost defeats Jalise Shaw. Fight goes to the outside early. Frost hits a head scissors on the floor and then tries to do the same back in the ring. Shaw kicks out and goes for a good bit of offense. Soon thereafter, Shaw gets a 2 count after a Vader bomb. Frost then fights back with a bunch of strikes and hits a cannonball in the corner. Goes for the moonsault. Shaw pulls her off the top rope, hitting a draping DDT. Gets a near fall. Shaw then hits a twisting suplex for another near fall. Frost fights back, hits a spinning kick to the face, then goes for the moonsault once again. Hits the frostbite twisting moonsault for the win. Not necessarily sure why you bring in Jalise Shaw to have her drop to Lady Frost here. Mickie James is interviewed in the back. She says that Tasha Steelz cheated to beat Green in the number one contenders match on Thursday. Green entered and said she'll watch the champion's back tonight. James then tells her not to go in the ring with her, however, because she doesn't want Tasha to have any excuses after she beats her. Rich Swann and Willie Mack defeat OGK, Mike Bennett, and Matt Taven with Maria Kanellis. Not a fan of this, as I'm not a fan of Willie Mack. Kanellis joins the commentary team for the match. Swann gets the early advantage for the team. Taven makes a blind tag and then double team maneuvers from the heels. Swann able to tag Mack back in after Mack then hits a head scissors on Taven. Bennett comes out of nowhere and slams him in the ring apron moments later. Apron slams are overrated. Match spills to the outside and Swann hits a dive on both members of OGK. Mack then does the same, and the baby faces are soon in control. Taven hits the DDT on Mack and then re-enters the ring, leading to the heels working on Mack for a short period of time. Eventually, Mack makes hot tag into Swann, who hits moves on Bennett and Taven. Mack and Swann then hits the assisted bulldog on Taven for 2 count. OGK follows up with a near fall. Swann then hits the Death Valley Driver, a running knee combo. OGK later tries to hit the protein pack and double team finish. Swann then counters into a pinning combination, gets a 3 count. Pay-per-view of the show begins. X Division champion Trey Miguel defeats Jake Something. Not a good X Division match just because Trey Miguel and Jake Something just don't really have it. Anyway, Something tosses his opponent to the match early. And he obviously uses the strength advantage. Miguel uses speed. Clash of Styles match. Miguel fights back with kicks. Something counters into a head scissors sit down powerbomb for a near fall. Miguel then can't get anything done early in the early moments of the match. Hannafin complains or compares this to being 2 different weight classes. Something has Miguel in place for a standing on the foot and then gives him a forearm shot to the face. Follows up with a spear into the corner and a near fall. Something then follows up with a series of short arm clotheslines. Miguel fights back and hits a kick to the face and a slam. Miguel then hits a springboard forearm, and now the champ is in full control. Gets a near fall off the kick, and then Something counters DDT attempting, and then hits him with a backbreaker for a 2 count. Miguel then hits a kick, causing Something to roll out to the floor. Miguel then hits a running sunset bomb to the outside, back in the ring. Something counters into an armbar and hits a buckle bomb and follows up with another power bomb for 2 count. Goes for another power bomb, but Miguel counters into the Meteora. Miguel then hits another Meteora when Something is dropped on the ropes and gets 3 count. Tasha Steelz is interviewed in the back. She said she's going to send Mickie James back to her husband and son as a loser. Eddie Edwards with Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, Maria Kanellis, Vincent, and Kenny King. Too many people defeating Rhino with Chris Sabin, Willie Mack, and Rich Swann. Rhino is aggressive early, and then Edwards goes to the outside. Honor No More try to protect him a bit. Maria then hands Edwards a kendo stick, but the referee sees this and throws them out of ringside. Moments later, Taven trips up Rhino from the outside, and Edwards gets on offense for a little bit. Brawl makes out between Honor No More and the Impact's crew. Everyone exchanges dives on the floor. Back in the ring, Edwards goes to use the kendo stick, but Steve McLean comes out and stops him. McLean then tells Rhino to go for the gore, but then he turned his back. McLean turned on Rhino and hit him with a kendo stick. Edwards then hit him with the Boston Knee Party and picks up the win. We go to the back to Neil Dashwood and Madison Raines tell Caleb with a K that they don't want him to go to the ring with them. Follows up with Caleb causing a distraction on the outside and allows Cassie Lee to defeat Rain on Thursday's show. The Influence to Neil Dashwood and Madison Rain defeat The Inspiration, Jesse McKay and Cassie Lee, winning the Knockouts Tag Team titles. I don't really know, in all honesty, who would care about any of this. These just seem really, flat. Anyway, Inspiration early advantage, knocking out both challengers, knocking them to the floor. Heels managed to gain an advantage on the floor. However, the heels work over McKay, quick tags, and then McKay finally makes hot tag to Lee, taking up both Rain and Dashwood, then hits Fisherman suplex on Dashwood near fall. McKay rams Dashwood into Lee's knee and gets another near fall. Dashwood then fights back, hits a spotlight kick, but Lee kicks out at 2. Caleb then comes off ringside despite being told not to. Lee then hits a spinning back kick for a 2 count. Caleb then tosses the belt into the ring, although it wasn't clear where that's going. Then there's speculation commentary regarding where Caleb meant it to go. Heath and Rhino are back, and Heath expected to debut, win the title like Santino Marella, and then gave Heath a pep talk saying he knows what it's like to be an underdog. Heath then sounded much more confident and yelled at the camera, ending the segment. And then we go to Ryan Myers, has his own personal commentary table, talks about W. Morrissey having broken the old table, but that's fine because he's got a new one. Morrissey's music hit, and he comes out and heads straight for Myers. Morrissey then goes to put him through the table. Myers gets away. Morrissey then puts a member of the security team through a table instead. Jonah defeats PCO in a pretty good hoss fight. Exchanging strike attacks early. PCO then hits a neck breaker, follows it up with a drop kick to the back of the head. Match goes to the floor. PCO has an early advantage outside. Jonah gets posted into the ring post. PCO breaks up the ring count, allows Jonah to get on offense, gives PCO a Russian leg sweep on the ramp. Jonah then follows and chops PCO down, but PCO fires back with his own chop. They both get to their feet again, exchanging strikes. German suplexes and clotheslines. Jonah takes PCO down with a clothesline, but PCO sets up moments after. Jonah then hits DDT, but PCO doesn't sell it. Jonah then hits a big vertical suplex and calls for the top rope splash. PCO caught him and goes to the top of the big Rana. PCO then goes to the top and hits big moonsault for 2 count. And Jonah then escapes to the outside and then dodges the charging PCO and goes to the head first and hits steel steps. Jonah then gave PCO a tombstone on the steel steps. He then gives PCO a powerbomb from the steps to the floor. That looks completely nasty. Jonah then rolls back into the ring and gives PCO a tsunami, gets the 3 count. After the match, medical personnel checks on PCO, but he brushes them off. Jay White's interviewed in the back. White says he would face Alex Shelley one more time. He likes to do it where Shelley earned his name. Commentary plays up the history between Shelley and White. Shelley gets an early advantage and starts working on White's arm. White counters into a springboard splash, getting knees up into a backbreaker soon thereafter. Match goes to the floor. White keeps on attacking. Back in the ring, White hits a pump handle backbreaker for a near fall. Shelley then fights out and drops his opponent with a forearm shot. White then goes for the sliced bread number 2, hits a DDT and a twisting suplex for a 2 count. Shelley then fights back, and White hits him with a thumb to the eye. Bunches of chops and other strikes. White gains an advantage here. Shelley then fights back. White hits a Uranagi for a near fall. Shelley then hits sliced bread number 2. White kicks out. Shelley then goes for the Blade Runner, but White counters. Shelley then locks on the Motor City stretch, but White eventually gets to the ropes. Shelley then goes back to working on the arm and hits a step-up enziguri, taking White to the outside. Shelley attempts a dive to the outside, but White counters the move, Giving him the Blade Runner into the ring apron. White then rolls Shelley back in and attempts to give him the Blade Runner inside the ring. Shelley counters and then hits his own version, but White kicks out, locks on the Motor City Stretch. White gets out of that, hits Blade Runner, and gets the pin. Probably the best match of the night so far. Shelley offered White a handshake. White laughed and walked away. Commentary continues to play up. White is not the same man that Shelley once knew. AAA, Rhea DeReos, and Women's ROH Champion Deanna Ferrazzo defeats Chelsea Green. Green comes out to answer Ferrazzo's open challenge, and there's recent news regarding Ring of Honor, and whoever wins this match is going to have a busy schedule. Obviously, that is the AEW sale. Ferrazzo then gains an early advantage and gets the first period of sustained offense. She locks on the Fujiwara armbar early, but Green is able to roll free. Green then tries to fight back, but then hits a pump kick. Then they exchange pinning attempts, and then they both hit the kicks same time. They both get knocked down. Green starts to fight back and hit a drop kick, and then she gets a near fall, then stomps. Ferrazzo then hits the bottom turnbuckle, then she gets a move similar to a flatliner. Ferrazzo then fights back with a slam, and then once again locks on the armbar. Green counters and locks down her own armbar, however, and then Ferrazzo then kicks at Green's injured wrist, and Green sells the heck out of it. Referee backed Ferrazzo up and said she could check on Green. Ferrazzo then seemed to show concern, but Green shoved her off. Ferrazzo then locks on the armbar again, and the bell rings. Green then taps after the bell, but referee is waving the match off before she did so. Ferrazzo keeps move locked on. Mickie James runs out and chases off Ferrazzo, so that feud isn't over. Tasha Steelz music hits, and we get the Knockouts Championship match up next. Tasha Steelz defeats Knockouts World Champion Mickie James to win the title. Steelz attacks James right before the bell. Commentary plays up. James will have to get her head in the game after her friend was injured previous match. Then James locks on the Boston Crab. Green is taken to the back. Savannah Evans then comes after Green, causing James to let go of the hold, and then James kicks Evans in the groin before heading back to the ring. Steelz then tries to take advantage by hitting her with a suicide dive. Challenger then takes out the champion as the match gets back in the ring. After a good bit of wearing down, we get backpack stunner. They fight onto the turnbuckle, and they both spill out to the floor. Then we go back to the ring, exchanging strikes. Center ring, James then hits the Luthez press and a series of clotheslines. She follows up, getting a 2 count after the neckbreaker. James then hits the Mick DT, but Evans gets in the ring, distracts the referee. James then kicks Evans in the face and sends her to the outside. Steelz then hits a crucifix bomb for a 2 count. James then hits a head scissors and starts going back into it. Hits a flapjack and then goes for the top to the top rope. Evans grabs James' foot and the ref is distracted. Momentary distraction causes her. Steelz counters the dive into the cutter and gets the 3 count. Then we go to another in the whole goofiness that is these multi-person matches. Violent by Design, Eric Young and Joe Doring with Deanna defeats the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson, Dark Gallows with Chris Bay for the Impact Tag Team Championships, although not as what I thought it was going to be. Champions have the advantage early. Doring tags in and turns the tables. Gallows and Doring go at it. Gallows gains an upper hand, but not for long. Champions are in control for a little bit. Anderson and Young both tagged back in. Pace quickens up. Anderson then hits a running senton and a fisherman. Backbreaker for near fall. Violent by Design. Fight back, and Young goes for the piledriver on Anderson and backdrops out of it. Gallows then tags in. Good Brothers hit a double team neckbreaker for a 2 count. Gallows then goes for the big slam on Young for the 2 count. Lots of quick tags for the champions and then the Magic Killer, but Young fights out of that. Then we go to Doring tagging in Violent by Design and is able to isolate Anderson For a period of time, Young then hits a big high angle Death Valley driver for a 2 count. Eventually, they do the Tower of Doom spot, and Doring hits a bunch of power bombs. Anderson hits a spinebuster on Doring, but Doring would pop back up and hit a strong lariat. Young and Gallows rolled outside the ring. Young then hits Gallows with a low blow and gives him power on the stage, taking him out of things. Young then gets back in the ring and powerbomb neckbreaker combo on Anderson for the win. At least the Good Brothers are no longer champions. Santino Marella joins the commentary team for this one. Champion and challenger, which is Moose as the Impact Champion, defeats Heath. I don't even know why they're doing this. Anyway, striking early, Moose gains an advantage, tossing Heath into the buckle. Moose is in control early. Heath then starts to fight back pretty aggressively here, and ultimately that doesn't go exactly the way anybody plans. Moose then kicks him in the face. Champion then goes right back to the offense. Moose then tosses him into the steel steps, and Heath is almost out of it. They get back to the ring. Moose then keeps up the attack, focusing on Heath's hand, stomping it repeatedly, locking into the abdominal stretch, and then gets hammered. Elbows to his opponent's midsection. Heath then starts biting Moose's hand, getting out of the hold. Moose then gets back offense shortly after, and then a bunch of Uranagis. Heath then manages to come back in a short order, but it doesn't really last all that long. Back in the ring, Moose counters into the wake-up call, but Heath manages the maneuver once again, and ultimately, Moose ends up retaining the title for a quick victory. And ultimately, that will close the show here.